But yeah, what do you eat for Sahoor?
Okay, so this is a interesting question because most people are always trying to put a lot of food in their Sahoor because they want it to sort of last them the whole day for energy. But ever since I started studying prophetic medicine, Islamic medicine, and herbalism, my mind shifted with regards to how I see food. The body doesn't need energy from the foods because if you eat and the body struggles to digest it, it actually sucks out energy. So you actually become more tired if you're not eating the right things. So for my Sahoor, it's actually quite light. It might be water, or it might be dates and cucumber. So it's a very, very and 3 dates, 1 cucumber, just something to put into the system. The reason I do that though is, especially if your Sahoor is at like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, your digestive system is asleep. It's not supposed to be functioning at that time. And if you're going to go back to sleep after you've had your Sahoor and prayed your Fajr, and you're going to go back to sleep for a couple of hours, that food isn't going to be digested well. So you're already starting the day actually off. You're not starting it on the right foot. So what I do is I do something that's going to be easy and quick to digest, and fruits tend to be easier to digest. The glucose gets into the bloodstream a lot quicker. And then you still get the whole ketosis benefit out of fasting. And if you do that, I found for me, whenever I do that in Ramadan, I always lose weight. So I'll have a very light Sahoor. And then again, I'll make sure that my iftar is all about clean digestion. So how is my system going to process the food? And I'm going to give it, I always compare the stomach to a washing machine. You don't want to stuff the washing machine, otherwise it won't clean the laundry, right? So your stomach is the same way. You want to make sure that it has what it needs in order to not suck the energy out of, because your energy either goes towards digestion or it's towards thinking or sleeping or whatever it is that you need to do. So I don't want to compete with my stomach for energy. And so I'm not going to feed it a lot in the morning. It's going to be a very, very light thing. And I've learned through the years what works for me. So like I can't do bananas, but I could do dates and cucumber. That works well as a pair. And sometimes it's just water. And that does suffice the sunnah. The sunnah says Sahoor, even if it's just a sip of water. How about you guys? What do you do? What do you guys eat for breakfast for Sahoor?
That's such an interesting question. Can you answer actually? Can I elaborate on that?
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. 'Cause it kept muting me and I don't know why. So you just mentioned, and obviously, mashallah, in prophetic medicine as well. So it's such a lovely feeling to know that you're following something that science may not have even have evidenced yet, but we're doing it because the creator of everything is telling us that is what is good for us. And it's just there's just a wonderful spiritual feeling in doing it, isn't there? So you just mentioned being in ketosis.
Right.
Because that was something that, so for people that fast outside of the spiritual fast, so for example, I try and do either a 16-8 or an 18-6 if I'm feeling if I'm feeling good. So fasting for just to clarify, so your window of not eating is 16 hours, and then you eat for 8 hours, but it's a very different fast to religious fasting because you can drink, etc. You just delaying your eating, aren't you? So I always thought that as soon as you then have your Sahoor, you've eaten, you've broken it, but obviously Allah knows best. Allah knows that this is the best way for us to fast, but there's always that thing in the back of my mind of, oh, I'm breaking my 18-6 and my 16-8 window,
right?
But are you saying that even with dates, for example, that actually dates and cucumbers can keep us in ketosis?
Oh, absolutely. Ketosis can happen after 10 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours, depending on your metabolism, depending on your body type. So if you're eating a light suhoor, you're not having a heavy meal with like curry and potatoes and breads and all of that. Like some people will have an actual dinner at suhoor time, which I'm against. I know people that do that, and I'm totally against that. They'll have like fried samosas, they'll have like really heavy foods, and I say that's not good for your system because your stomach is going to struggle for the next 4 to 6 hours. So you're not entering ketosis for much longer. So as soon as your stomach is emptied and the sugars in the bloodstream, then your body starts to count again that it's hungry. And from that moment, so if you've digested the dates within an hour, then from 5 a.m. until 5 p.m., you've already done 12 hours, your body kicks into ketosis. So it doesn't matter. I know that the way that the keto diet does it is all about certain hours. That's Islamically, it works different, because when you're working with the circadian rhythm, you're working with how your body functions and how your stomach digests foods. And so when you're fasting while you're sleeping, that's not really fasting. That's not the same fast as when you're fasting during the day when you're supposed to be eating and using up energy. So I don't actually do the keto diet type intermittent fasting. If I'm going to fast, it's going to be the Islamic fasting, because that's going to be the best type of fast. It's with our circadian rhythm. It resets all our hormones. Like, there's just so much more benefit to it than having an 8-hour window or 6-hour window during the day that I'm eating, when typically that's when you want to be exerting the energy and not eating. So it's just different, right? Does that
It
make sense?
really is. It
Yes,
really
subhanAllah.
does. Yeah. And that was what I found really interesting was there's a guy who does YouTube, Thomas DeLore, something like that. I'm completely mispronouncing his surname, but he's really, really big on fasting, non-religious fasting. But he was talking the other day, because you often get the non-religious fasting communities, some of them don't necessarily agree with dry fasting, but obviously we know that our creator knows what is best for us more than what any science has proven right now.
Right.
But this guy, Thomas DeLore, he was talking about how there was a scientific study that came out like a year or 18 months ago that was evidencing dry fasting and how more efficient it was in every single way over the wet fasting that we know, and outside of the spiritual way of doing it. And it just shows you that you're right, how Allah has created us and how he prescribes for us to fast is the most perfect of ways. And also when I think about the 16-8, the 18-6, however you do it outside, if you do a non-religious fast, it's a pain because you feel like you have to do it all the time and there's no set prescription of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. But Allah has made it perfect so that just a Monday and a Thursday, it's not overly complicated. I think the shaitan certainly gets in my head to say, oh, it's so hard. What are you going to do? And you've got the kids and it's really hard. And, you're going to go all day without a drink. You could have a drink. You could have a coffee in the morning. Don't worry about it. You've got Ramadan. Yes.
It's summer, long hours.
Yes.
I'll do it in winter because it's shorter hours. And then winter comes, you don't do it in winter.
Yes. It's so true. You're like,
I know.
Yes.
I know.
And
The thing is,
I know.
with the intermittent fasting that they do in the keto diet, if your system is still functioning, if the stomach is still getting water or coffee in it, it still has to work.
Exactly.
So that interferes with the autophagy. Like, it's supposed to be doing its cleaning job. It's supposed to turn to the other systems in its body and start to clean things out. But if you're actually still putting things in it, you're still forcing it to work. And so it can't fully do the cleaning job, which is why dry fasting is far more effective.
Yeah, there has been a lot of actually research around it. And I know we don't go by research, we go by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed for us, we know. But then again, so even, we talk about weight loss and specifically we're talking about fat loss, isn't it? Yeah. So there is actually greater fat loss when you do dry fasting than the other form of fasting, because fat cells actually have water in it. So the body is actually trying to break down those fat cells to get the water because you are depriving it of water as well. And we know about the migratory motor complex. That's what you're talking about, Iman, aren't you? About the bowel cleaning itself. And it's true. When you don't drink water as well, it's, like you just don't put anything down. That's the time when that thing is really effective. It doesn't just clean out the gut. It balances the bacteria. It balances the good and bad bacteria. We know that. And it even aligns the bacteria closer to the gut wall so that it's that is where it's supposed to be. So very close. So that is how it has all its effects on the metabolism. So it's really got a lot of, there's a lot of things coming out about dry fasting, but we're not depending on the research. We know that this is the best for us.
Yeah.
Right, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that
Yeah.
the most we can fast is the fast of Dawood, which is every other day.
Every other day.
So
exactly.
people who are doing the keto
Yeah.
diets and their intermittent fasting, but they're doing it every day for an entire year, they're actually harming their body a lot more than they're building it, because the gut flora will be damaged
Yes.
by that kind of fasting.
So,